Warning: this stream is rated for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Theodora plus 25,000 in.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tuba Swan Save the Music.org Theater. My name is Scotty, also known as EBC. And yeah, sorry about that. The thingy was not working with the thingy. And anyway, welcome back to Ancient Airwaves, the show where we play old time radio shows. This week is a show called Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. And it kind of evolved over the years, and actually that timestamp is wrong because that's when they actually started producing a TV show around it, 1955, but it was based on all the stories that they had in the radio show that started back in 1949. So we're going to listen to 3 episodes of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, in which Johnny Dollar is a private investigator, and he's known for tipping waitresses and bellboys and anybody else a silver dollar. So that's how he got his nickname there. And we're going to start with the first episode that was recorded as an audition for... where did I put it here? Audition for Dick Powell, who played Johnny Dollar in just the first episode. It was kind of like a pilot episode that was then aired in number 5 slot, episode number 5, when it actually went to be distributed. But Dick Powell did not actually end up playing Johnny Dollar for the majority of it. After that, the other episodes we're going to listen to was played by Charles Russell. All right, so here we go with the first episode that first aired on. Hold on, let me get rid of my ticker there for a minute because that's old. The first episode aired on March 25th, 1949, and this is the Milford Brooks III matter. Here we go.
The Columbia Broadcasting System presents yours truly, Johnny Dollar. The next half hour has its baggage packed to take a trip with America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, he's just an expert. At making out his expense account, he is an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Honesty Life Insurance Underwriters, Terminal Building, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention, Austin Farnsworth, General Manager. The following is an accounting of my expenditures in the investigation of policyholder Milford Brooks III for your company. Expense account item 1, 75 cents. Cab fare to your office in answer to your original hurry call. Tip to driver, $1. Expense account item 2, 25 cents. Shoe shine. You remember I got my shoes scuffed when I unsuspectingly walked through the private door to your office.
Dollar, grab him. He's trying to jump out that window. Let me go. Get off.
I'll show you.
Oh, no, you don't.
Hey, let go, you fool. Get away. Had a nice try, sonny boy. Now pay attention to teacher.
No.
Class dismissed. Well, Mr. Farnsworth, why didn't you tell me what you had waiting for me? I'd have worn my boxing gloves.
Dollar, this was all a complete surprise to me.
Well, just in case your little chum on the floor there wakes up in a hurry, I think I'll close the window. Now,
My goodness, Dollar, what are you doing?
I'm sitting on his head. I don't care if this guy tries killing himself again. I just don't want him to try and kill me. After all, we haven't even been introduced.
Dollar, that happens to be one of our largest policyholders. His life is insured with this company in the amount of $2 million.
Oh, now I can see why you're so anxious to keep him from putting a dent in the sidewalk.
Precisely.
He'd also put quite a dent in your company's bank account.
By the way, Dollar, aren't you in danger of smothering the boy sitting on his head that way?
Maybe. Now, tell me, what's this guy's name? And what's his story?
That, sir, is Milford Brooks III. As I said, we have him insured for $2 million. His mother and father left him with a paid-up policy for the sole purpose of enabling his heirs to pay the inheritance taxes on his estate when he dies. Unfortunately, due to the kind of life he's been leading, Brooks not only hasn't any heirs, he hasn't any money.
He blew all his cash?
That's right. Now he's trying to get some out of us by threatening to kill himself. And that policy pays off on suicide.
In a mortuary, he'd be a millionaire, huh?
Please, Dollar.
Sorry, go on.
1/2 hour ago, Milford walked into this office and changed the beneficiary in his policy. When that was done, he proceeded to demand, not request, mind you, $500,000 in cash.
Oh, well, say, that's quite a touch.
When I explained to him that there was no loan provision in his insurance policy, he threatened suicide. He said I could either give him the $500,000 cash or pay off the $2 million on his policy.
So all you have to do is to keep him alive.
And he's managed to make that no small problem. The man he named as his new beneficiary, just before he made his demand for the cash, is, well, it's downright frightening.
Why? Who is it?
One of the most notorious gamblers in the East. His name is Hatcher. Harold Hatcher.
Oh.
You know him?
Yeah. Say, that kid's been a post office pinup boy for a lot of years.
Well, there's the situation, Dollar. I'm engaging you to protect Milford Brooks' future.
Yeah, what there is of it. The way this lad operates, you think he had but 2 lives to give for his country. He's not only set himself up to get knocked off by somebody else, he's just dying to do the job himself.
Well, it just means that you'll have to work twice as hard.
Oh, it also means something else.
What's that?
That you'll have to pay me twice as much money.
You'll get your money. The situation demands sacrifice, I'm afraid. But protect the boy, Dollar. Give him something to live for, an interest in life.
Got an interest in life, huh? Let's see. I know. Here, this should help.
What's that you've got there?
It's what's commonly referred to in the more successful bachelor circles as my little black book. Now, let's see. Ruby? No, her favorite expression is drop dead. Bernadine? No, she'd be the new beneficiary by midnight. Oh, here's one. Here. Butter.
Butter?
Hey, Farnsworth, would you mind passing me that phone, the one with the long cord?
No, not at all.
My little friend here is showing signs of life.
Here you are. Maybe you should let him breathe a bit more.
Now, don't worry. He'll be all right. Hello? Hello, I want to call New York. Person to person. Miss Theodora Butts. Yeah, that's right. And you'll get her at Hudson 24292.
Dollar, you're not thinking of taking this boy to New York, are you?
Well, I'm going there myself, and you want me to keep an eye on him, don't you? Don't fret, Farnsworth. All is not lost.
You do worry me sitting on his head that way.
Hello? Hello, Butter? Butter, this is Johnny Dollar. I'll be in town tonight. I want to see you. Look, here's what I want you to do. Yes, this is all right to say over the telephone. I want you to reserve a table at the hatchery in my name for 10 o'clock tonight. Will you do that? Okay, I'll see you in a few hours. Huh? But I can't make it any earlier. I'm sitting up on a sick friend. Okay, goodbye.
I'm not sure that I agree with your methods. Oh! What's the matter, Dollar? Did he hit you?
Hit me? No, he bit me. Expense account, item 3. Liquor, $18. Keeping Milford Brooks III peaceful seemed to be the immediate problem, and a bottle of rare old brandy seemed to be the immediate answer. I poured most of it into him, loaded him into my car, and we headed for New York. As we passed through New Haven, he opened one eye, looked up, saw the ale bowl, and gave 3 cheers for old Eli.
Yeah, right.
Old Yale would sure be proud of you. Why anybody would want to insure you for $2 million is more than I can figure.
Yeah, well, my daddy loved me very much, and my mother loved me very much. Not only that, but I love somebody very much. And not only that, but I hate somebody very much. Hey, you want to know something?
Huh.
Next to one other guy, I hate you most of anybody else.
Here, lover boy, it's cocktail hour again. Time for your bottle. Rolling along the Merritt Parkway, I felt very much alone with my own thoughts. And believe me, they weren't very pleasant company. The way it stacked up for me, Brooks had built up a fat gambling debt to Harold Hatcher and had been forced to make him his beneficiary. The suicide threat that he was holding over Honesty Insurance Company was a little tougher to figure, unless he was trying to finance a trip for himself to get away from the man with a custom-tailored murder motive, Hatcher. My hungry little mind nibbled away on those unsavory morsels of food for thought all the way to Butter's apartment.
Hey, where are you taking me? I want to go to New York.
If you don't behave, Buster, I'll punch your ticket.
Johnny, darling, welcome to New York.
Fastest trip I ever made.
Quiet.
Well, where did you find this?
In a box of Cracker Jacks. Come on, let me in.
Oh, I don't know about you, Johnny. Some men bring me flowers and some bring me candy. What do you bring me? A boiled owl in a Brooks Brothers suit.
Oh, I'm pleased to meet you. My name is Brooks, but I haven't got any brothers.
Lucky them.
Fix the pillows on the couch, will you?
They look more at home in the bathtub.
Oh, come on, Buster. Lie down.
Oh, I'm charmed. Thank you very much.
Hey, this kid's liquor sure can hold him. He's passed out.
How long have you been playing nursemaid to this bottle baby?
Lead me into the bar, sweet. Let's get away from this buzzsaw, and I'll tell you all about it.
Sure, come along. Horrible examples don't seem to bother you, do they?
If you knew how that guy's been bothering me.
What'd he do to you?
Oh, let's just say he put the bite on me. Ah, the river sure does look pretty tonight.
Like a brandy?
Anything but. I've been sniffing that secondhand, all the way from Hartford. Oh, make it a Bravo root beer. Hey, Butter. See that big boat out there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I sure would like to be on it with you. Sailing off to faraway romantic places.
Get with it, darling. That's the 125th Street Ferry. Here's your root beer. Come on now. Tell Butter all about it.
First things first. Now that I've got a Dad's old-fashioned root beer, how about giving me one of Mom's new-fashioned kisses? And then I'll tell you all about it. A few seconds later, I proceeded to tell her all about it, and it wasn't easy. Everything about her kept flagging down my train of thought. She was a sympathetic listener to my story until I gave her the answer to her first and only question.
Where do I fit into all this?
Well, baby, I thought you understood. My job is to give the poor, misguided boy something to live for. That's you.
Well, he should live so long.
Now, Butter, wait a minute.
Well, don't butter me.
Now, don't get excited now. You misunderstand. I really mean it. I thought if he just got a look at you, realized that things like you exist, you'd make any man glad to be alive. can't stand it, I'll take him away. But I sure need you, Butter. Come on, baby. Melt a little. I wouldn't let you get hurt. You know that.
Did I hurt you?
No, I'm getting used to it. People have been taking pokes at me all day.
I'm sorry.
Ah, that's better.
Want some more root beer?
Uh-uh. I want some more of you. How about another kiss?
Well, help yourself. Darn. I'll get it, Johnny.
Okay, and if a man answers, hang up, will you?
Oh, don't worry. Hello. Yes, this is Hudson 24292. Well, that depends. Who's calling? Oh, just a moment. It's for you, Johnny. Mr. Farnsworth.
Huh? Oh, okay, I'll take it. Thanks. Say, while I'm talking, be a good girl, will you? And take a look at Milford in the other room. And while you're at it, get me in the root beer, huh?
Oh, sure. The service is good around here.
Hello, Farnsworth.
Yes, Dollar, I'm glad I got you.
How'd you get this number?
It's the one you called from my office. I remembered it. I have a photographic mind.
I hope you haven't got a picture of what I'm thinking. What do you want?
I want to know how Milford is. I mean, is he still alive?
Of course he's alive.
Good, good. Do you suppose I could talk to him? I mean, do you think he'll talk to me?
Well, the last time I saw him, he was sound asleep. I'll take a look. Hold the phone. Oh, Butter. Oh, Butter. Hey, Butter. Hello, Farnsworth.
Yes, yes.
Do you have any aspirin there at your house?
Why, of course, Dollar. Why?
Well, you better take a handful. Milford Brooks III just took a powder. I'll call you back.
You let anything happen to him, and you'll need the aspirin.
I've already got a headache. When Milford left, he took my girl with him.
In just a moment, we'll return to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. But first, we want to remind you that it was 437 years ago, next Sunday, the famed Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon began his search for the Fountain of Youth. By sheer coincidence, the man who's still looking for it, Jack Benny, will be heard on CBS next Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And now, back to Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
Well, nobody could say I wasn't working fast. I'd only been in town for an hour, and I had already succeeded in not only losing your $2 million baby, Milford Brooks III, Mr. Farnsworth, but in losing my $1 million baby, Theodora Butts. I tried to put myself in Milford Brooks' $40 shoes, but they wouldn't fit. You can't outthink a maniac. The best I could do was figure either that he was on his way to commit suicide, or that Harold Hatcher, the man who now stood to collect $2 million in the event of Milford's death, had snatched him out of Butter's apartment. With birds of that type flocking together, Butter stood a good chance of being a dead duck. I spent an hour unsuccessfully shaking down the neighborhood for them. I questioned cab drivers, harness bulls, bartenders. Then I decided to ask for help from higher up. And I don't mean that I said a prayer. Expense account, item 4, 5 cents, phone call.
Police headquarters.
Give me missing persons.
Any particular one?
Don't be a wise guy. Lieutenant Fisher.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Dollar. What did you lose?
Practically everybody. Let's start with a girl, Theodora Butts.
You mean you lost your girl? Why didn't you call Dorothy Dix?
Don't waste time being clever. Just check your reports, will you?
Hold on. Buddington, Bumpus, Byers. Nope, nothing on her, Dollar.
Okay, well, try this one. Brooks, Milford III.
Bullseye. Brooks, Milford III. He hasn't been reported missing, and we haven't found him yet. But, we think we know where he is.
Oh, this kind of a question I always hate to ask. Where?
The Hudson River. At 11:15 tonight, his top coat, complete with identification, was found taking a ride on the 125th Street ferry.
Anything else?
Nothing much. Package of matches was found under the coat, monogram. You don't happen to know anybody whose initials are H.H., do you?
H.H.? Well, there's always Horace Height. Thanks, Fisher. I'll check back with you later.
I'll be here.
Expense account, item 5. Nightclubs, $28. Harold Hatcher's hatchery was in a cellar under a hotel, but the prices were high enough to rate a penthouse. The club was draped in too much satin, its lady customers in too little. The decor was French provincial, music Brazilian, and the food was nowhere. The drinks looked weak and the waiters looked strong. All in all, the joint was a sight for sore eyes, for making them sore. The only pretty thing in the place was a blonde. She came strolling up to my table, her hips unconsciously sending subtle little messages back to the rumba band. She opened her mouth, slid her tongue over her lower lip, and let a few warm, soft words slide out.
Looking for someone?
Oh, well, you'll do until the real thing comes along. Sit down.
Thanks. No, I won't have a drink. My name is Janelle. I understand you were asking about Mr. Hatcher.
Yeah. You know him?
More than somewhat.
Are you Mrs. Hatcher by any chance?
I might be.
Does that mean you might admit it or that you might talk him into it someday?
I'll ignore that. What do you want to see him about?
A mutual friend, Milford Brooks.
I know most of the quiet-clothes boys around here, so you aren't a cop. You don't look like the type to be a society friend of the Brooks family. So what are you?
I'll ignore that. Is Hatcher around?
He might be.
Oh, come on now. Where is this office?
At the top of the stairs in the back.
Can I expect any trouble getting in?
You act like you just saw a B picture. Harold is doing his best to act like an honest businessman these nights. You won't have any trouble.
How do you know?
Because Harold sent me down here to look you over. I think you're all right.
Oh, so I've won myself the good housekeeping seal of approval, huh?
Keeping house with you would meet with my approval.
I ran for my life, had a slow walk across the dance floor, edged my way through a cluster of tables, and went up the back stairs. When I located the door to Hatcher's office, I knocked once and went in.
Come on in.
Thanks. I'm Johnny Dollar. I've been hired by Honesty Life Insurance Underwriters to protect the interest of a guy named Milford Brooks III.
What's that supposed to mean to me?
You know him, don't you?
Well, he isn't exactly one of my boozing buddies.
How much money does he owe you?
We've got him on the books for a few grand. Why?
They picked up his top coat tonight on the 125th Street ferry. He wasn't in it. It might have been a suicide, or it might have been a knockover made to look like a suicide. What's your choice?
Where do you get off asking me to make a choice?
Where were you around 11:30 tonight?
What's it to you?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought you might like to rehearse a few answers. The law will be asking you some questions real soon now.
I don't know why I should tell you, but I was driving around in my car getting some air.
You better do better than that. They found a match folder under Brooks' coat. It had your initials on it.
You're out of your mind. The guy owed me a couple $100,000. You think I'm going around knocking off my own assets?
I don't know whether you're stupid or bright, Hatcher.
Don't worry about it. I know.
What about that insurance policy?
What insurance policy?
Now, look, Hatcher, we're big boys now. We both know that changing the beneficiary of an insurance policy is a legal transaction. That means witnesses. That means it isn't secret.
You mind telling me what you're trying to say?
That you and the Honesty Insurance Company and I all know that Brooks made you the beneficiary in his policy and that you stand to come in at $2 million when they fish out his body.
I don't know anything about it.
Motives don't come much bigger.
I'm telling you, this is all news to me. You or nobody else is going to move me off that story.
I feel the same about mine. It doesn't take a genius to know that Brooks didn't love you $2 million worth. There's only one logical reason for his making you the beneficiary that I can see. You forced him into it. Who'd believe anything else?
Who cares? They'd have to prove it. And, brother, that can't be done. Now, how would you like... Wait a minute. Yeah? Yeah. Oh, okay, Rocky. Thanks for the news. Dollar, did you turn me in?
Oh, they're here, huh?
Yeah.
No, I didn't turn you in. What's the matter? You got a good story, Hatcher? You're not worried, are you? Here, have a cigarette.
Thanks. Oh, I got light.
Oh, worked the first time.
Yeah. Nope, I'm not worried. I'll be out in 48 hours.
You'll be lucky if you're out in 48 years.
Okay, boys, come on in.
The homicide boys invited Hatcher down to headquarters. He accepted and invited them down to the bar for a no-hard-feelings drink. They accepted. I walked back down the stairs into the club. The place hadn't changed. Same stale customers, same stale music, same stale air. And the same lovely Janelle sitting at the same unlovely table.
Hello. How'd you make out?
Oh, I left before they started playing 20 questions. But I wouldn't worry. You've got a smart boy in the bar there.
In some ways, maybe. What'd he hand you?
A big round 0.
Wouldn't talk, huh? About what?
Oh, just a little doodad, a $2 million life insurance policy.
Wait a minute. That young Brooks kid?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I knew it. I tried to tell him, but he wouldn't listen to me.
Trying to tell who what?
Hatcher. But he'd get into trouble about that policy. It just looks funny, him being made the beneficiary.
You knew about it, huh? I suppose you also know what was behind it.
Sure, Milford owed him some money. A lot of money. It's in writing.
What kind of writing?
It's a personal note that Brooks was going to get back if he made Harold beneficiary. It's up in his office.
Hey, you must be awful close to Hatcher.
I'm the close, friendly type. I'll have that drink now.
You've earned it, beautiful. She had earned it, and I had a hunch as to why. If ever I saw a gal busy putting the skids under her boyfriend, she was. Even if she helped send him up on a murder rap. I would have bet a quick 50 that she'd tipped him to the police. It's happened before if the boyfriend is the murdering type, and it's a nice, neat legal method of disposal. Janelle led me back up the stairs and into Hatcher's office. I sent her back down to watch the bar to divert Hatcher in case he decided he'd forgotten something. Brooks's personal note made out to the gambler was easy to find, lying neatly in the middle of the top desk drawer. But I found something even more interesting when I went through his wardrobe closet. I began to see a glimmer of light. And then, encouraged by not too much thinking on my part, it turned into a veritable bonfire, which I hoped wouldn't be too hot for me to handle.
Did you find everything?
Honey, if I were a judge, I'd be ready to sentence the guilty party.
Good.
Oh, waiter, the check.
Where are you going? To the police?
Bright girl. I'll see you later. Expense account, item 6. Cab fare, $1. Tip to driver, $1. Once out of the hatchery, I walked to the corner, got into a taxi, and waited. In just a few minutes, my favorite suspect came out of the club, jumped into a taxi, and the chase was on. We nuzzled our way through the traffic over to 2nd Avenue and headed downtown. Then he took a right turn on 45th Street over to Lexington and headed uptown. But they didn't lose us. At 72nd, the cab ahead turned right and pulled to a stop. My driver was on his toes, and his toes were on his brake. We stopped, too, half a block behind.
You want I should wait?
Oh, here you are. Keep the change. It was a garage that belonged to a residence on the parallel street a block away. I made out a for sale sign on one of the big doors. The living quarters upstairs were dark enough to look interesting, so I indulged in a bit of genteel breaking and entering. Entering that old barn didn't take much breaking. I crept up the stairs. They sounded like they were left over from an old ghost story. And so did the first voice I heard when I stopped, halfway up.
So we've got to be careful, especially about that Johnny Dollar. Are you sure he didn't follow you?
That voice sounded awful dry to be coming from a guy who supposedly had spent most of the night snoozing on the bottom of the Hudson River. It was Milford Brooks III. Get up on your feet, Brooks.
Now, wait a minute. No!
I started this thing slugging you. I might as well finish it the same way.
Leave him alone. He's mine.
Pull in the claws, Angel, and sit on his lap.
Oh, you Connecticut hick. I'll kill you.
Look, I'm the last guy in the world who enjoys physical violence, give or take. But believe me, you two are coming mighty close to changing my whole character. Now settle down before I really lose my head.
Get off of me. I should have known better than to get mixed up with a low-class nobody like you.
Cut. We've pushed the lady around enough, Brooks.
Tell me to be careful. Why didn't you think of that before you led him here?
Wipe your nose, big boy.
Now, don't you go getting fat-headed gorgeous. Neither one of you is exactly what I'd call a mastermind. When you planted that match folder underneath the topcoat on the ferry boat, you both should have been more careful.
Huh. You think so?
You bet I think so. If I were planning a piece of evidence to incriminate Mr. Harold Hatcher, I would have left a cigarette lighter. I found one in the pocket of every suit he owns, back there in his closet in the club. It wasn't hard to figure out that guy never carries a book of matches.
What do you want?
I'm only interested in one thing, saving the insurance company $2 million. And, Buster, I think you've done it for me.
Wait, look, Dollar.
This is insurance fraud. It has been ever since you put on that fake suicide attempt, trying to extort $500,000 out of the company for you and Janelle.
Wait a minute, Dollar.
So much for the company. Now, something a little more personal and a little more serious. Where is my girl? Well, she's all right, Dollar. I couldn't help it. I had to get out of that apartment. She caught me leaving. I had to take her with me.
Where is she?
Well, I didn't mean to hurt her. I was afraid she'd yell.
Oh, you miserable...
I'll tell you where she is, Dollar. I put her in a cab and sent her to the emergency hospital.
Get up.
Oh, no. No, Dollar, please,
I'm
let me
gonna give you the
explain.
beating you'll...
Harold!
Hatcher.
You had your fun, Dollar. Now I want mine.
How did you get here?
New York City, world's most efficient police force, remember? When they think maybe a guy's jumped off a ferry boat and nobody's seen him do it, they check the turnstile counters at each end. In the case of Brooks here, as many people got off that boat as got on.
Yeah, that makes sense. They'd hardly hold a guy for murder just because somebody else lost a topcoat.
How'd you know we were here?
You know me, Janelle. You never go any place that I don't know about. Okay, Brooks, you felt like explaining. Now I feel like listening. Get it up.
I don't know what you mean. I know what you mean, Hatcher. One, he gave you a big, fat $2 million motive for murder. And two, he did his best to make it look like you did murder him with that broken-down match cover plan on the ferry boat. Why? Well, they wanted to get rid of you and live happily ever after. The big mistake they made was in trying to shake the insurance company down for some ready cash.
And you, baby.
Harold,
You
please.
put him up to it, didn't you, you cheap little muscler?
No, Harold!
Calm down, Hatcher. You don't need a gun around here. They're tame.
You don't know me very well, Dollar. I'm going to teach all of you amateurs a lesson. How these things are really done. Come on, Brooks.
No, Hatcher. You can have everything I've got. For a second, it looked like Hatcher was going to take everything. But I hadn't gone that far to see Brooks knocked off with me as a witness. Hey, maybe I wasn't going to be a witness. Maybe I was going to be a victim, too. When that thought hit me, that's when I flew across the room and hit Hatcher in a do-or-die flying tackle from behind. Oh. Hatcher went down shooting. I went down kicking, and a lucky boot knocked the gun out of his hand. I beat him to it and swung it straight into his skull. Oh! Half the people in the room were lying there bleeding. Brooks from a gunshot, Hatcher from the gun butt. Janelle and I both stood there panting. But believe me, not for each other. We stood that way until the police arrived.
Johnny, I hate being in the hospital, but I look awful.
Butter, honey, you look lovely in white.
This patch on my head, Johnny, they had to cut a big hunk of my hair off to put in the stitches. Oh, that awful man.
Well, if it'll make you feel any better, baby, that awful man got taken care of. He's upstairs in the same hospital.
Oh, Johnny, you didn't shoot
No,
him.
Butter, I didn't have to. Harold Hatcher saved me the trouble. They don't know yet whether Mr. Brooks is going to live or die, but it doesn't make much difference to me or to the insurance company. He signed a statement admitting attempted fraud.
Serves him right hitting a lady on the head. Johnny, what am I going to do? My hair will look awful. It'll take months for it to grow out.
Now, don't worry, Butter. I'll buy you something to cover it up. I know a guy over on Fifth Avenue who claims he makes something that looks prettier on a woman's head than her hair. Expense account, item 7. $640. Ladies' hats. To cover the lump on lady's head. Expense account, item 8. $20. Tip to nurse for reminding Butter on the hour every hour that accidents will happen. Expense account, item 9. $7. Mileage driving back to Hartford. Expense account total, $1,182.23. Which you may say, Mr. Farnsworth, is a lot of money for one man to spend in a day and a half. But you must bear in mind that the amount at stake was $2 million. And you know the price of steak these days. Signed, yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Listen in again next week when CBS brings you yours truly, Johnny Dollar, with Charles Russell as Johnny. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is written by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd, with music by Mark Warno, and is produced and directed by Richard Sandville for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
All right, so that's the first episode there. And we're going to take a short commercial break and come back for the second episode, The Robert Perry Case. Stay tuned.
the Columbia Broadcasting System presents Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. The next half hour has its baggage packed to take a trip with America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, he is just an expert. At making out his expense account, he is an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, American Continental Life Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of my expenditures fulfilling your assignment as a bodyguard, the body being that of your late policyholder, Robert W. Perry. Expense account item 1. Fare on night train Hartford to New York, $3.80. Expense account item 2. $1.80 taxi to Lower Manhattan the following morning. To officers Perry and Van Bruten, importers, arriving as promised at exactly 9 a.m.
Help you?
Yeah, my name is Johnny Dollar. I have an appointment with Mr. Perry for 9 o'clock.
Oh, yes, from the insurance company. Well, you're right on time.
Yeah, they told me I'd better be.
Mr. Perry just came in. He's alone and waiting for you. I'll buzz him that you're here.
Thanks. What was left of your policyholder, Mr. Perry, was just sliding out of his swivel chair as I hit the room. The top of his desk had erupted, and splinters of mahogany pointed their sharp fingers upward through lazy circles of smoke swirling toward the ceiling. The buzzer from his secretary's desk had been rigged to a booby trap.
Oh, no, Mr. Perry.
Stay away from him. There's nothing you can do for him. He's dead.
Oh, what happened? What happened? Whatever happened?
Come on, let's get back out of here. Here you are now. Sit down. I'll get you a drink of water. There you are. Just drink this.
What happened?
We heard an explosion.
I turned in an alarm. Is anybody hurt? There's a doctor on the third floor. Should I call him?
Never mind the doctor. Call the police. And nobody gets in here until they arrive. And the rest of you, go on, beat it. Run along. And turn off that alarm. Okay, miss. Now, just take it easy.
But it was all so sudden. What happened?
Well, that's not too hard to figure out. Somebody wanted to give your boss, Mr. Perry, a shortcut through life. So, whoever it was, figured out that a secretary would never buzz her boss unless he was at his desk. They rigged up a bomb somewhere in his desk that would go off when you buzzed him.
Oh, but then I killed him.
Now, wait a minute. Don't get hysterical on me. There's excitement enough around here, and there'll be plenty more when the police get here. Keep cool.
But I did it. You saw me do it.
Look, the way you put it, I killed him by coming in here and giving you my name so you'd buzz him. Drop it, will you?
I'm sorry.
Now, what about yesterday? Was he here?
Yes, all day.
What time was it when you last used the buzzer?
Wait, right up to the last minute, about 5:30.
Who left the office first, you or Perry?
Mr. Perry, he always leaves first, and I lock up.
Looks of things, you should have used more locks last night. Somebody got in here to do some wiring. Uh-oh, I forgot that fire alarm. All that equipment and no fire. Look, before the police arrive, do you know why I was sent here?
Yes. Mr. Perry recently felt that his life was in danger. He thought that, well, with a $100,000 policy, the insurance company would do everything they could to help keep him alive.
Well, we didn't have much of a chance, did we? What was he afraid of?
I don't know.
Okay. What were his other appointments for today?
He's only had 2. His partner, Mr. Van Bruten, at 11, and then...
One at a time now. Van Bruten. Anything special about their meeting?
Yes. Mr. Van Bruten arrived just yesterday from Holland.
You mean there was a branch of this firm in Holland?
Yes, and Mr. Perry was buying out Van Bruten's interest. They had their final meeting at Van Bruten's hotel last night.
Oh?
And Van Bruten was coming by this morning to pick up his money.
Cash?
No, a cashier's check. The bank is to deliver it here at 10:30.
Now, quick. Perry's other appointment. Who was that?
Christine, his wife.
Oh, yeah. Now Christine, the beneficiary.
Yes, but she wouldn't have been the beneficiary in another 2 weeks. They were getting a divorce.
Thanks for the motive. You don't like her?
I didn't mean it that way.
How about Perry? Did you like him? Okay, well, here's an easy one. What's your name?
Susan Gates. Now, isn't that about enough?
Okay, Susan, you'd better save your voice. During the next few hours, you're going to have a lot of talking to do. Oh, here come the firemen, and we haven't even got a child to ask them to save.
Where's the fire? I'm looking for a fire.
Just stick around. When the cops get here, somebody will get burned. The firemen should have stuck around because the cops arrived in a blaze of glory. It was a very high-class investigation. 2 lieutenants. Finally, after about an hour, the police photographer ran out of flash bulbs, the office of the deceased ran out of fingerprints, and the lieutenants ran out of questions. So the on-the-scene phase of the investigation was closed. At about 5 minutes of 11, I left the police to pack up their notebooks, their clues, and the body, and went into the outer office. Susan looked like she could use a big, broad shoulder to weep on, but unfortunately, I was wearing my light gray suit. About then, a dark blue suit and a deep green voice entered the room from the corridor.
Say, there's some feller out here says he belongs here. His name is Van Bruten. Shall I let him in?
Oh, what do you think? His name is on the door you just opened.
Oh, indeed, now. Well, my name happens to be Murphy, and it's on beds all over the country. But that don't mean I'm stuffed with feathers, does it?
This'll teach you, Johnny Dollar, never to cross tongues with an Irishman. Okay, send him in, officer.
Yeah. All right, you can come in.
The policeman out there. Is there trouble here? Oh, I am Bremer Van Bruten. Where's Mr. Perry?
What?
He's waiting for me, no?
No.
But my appointment.
He's not keeping any. He's dead.
Dead? This is impossible. Last night I saw him. He was well. What happened?
He was hit by a buzz bomb.
A buzz bomb?
Please.
Oh, sorry. I forgot other people aren't used to these things.
You mean that was foul play?
Very foul.
Please, may I sit down? My first visit in all these years, since before the war. It was to be so happy. But now, tragedy like this. He was a good man, a good partner.
I understand that as of last night, you were no longer partners.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I realize, of course, that it is indelicate to speak of such things as money at a time like this. But that is why I'm here, to receive my payment.
Oh, just because Perry got his, there's no reason for you not getting yours, huh?
But you misunderstand me. I am deeply grieved. Since the transaction was consummated, what is there to do? A delay would be a needless waste of money. I have already paid for passage back to Amsterdam tomorrow.
Your check is here, Mr. Van Bruten. Here you are.
Thank you. In all my years of business, this is indeed the saddest moment.
Yeah, those are very kind words, Van Bruten, and I'd believe them if your eyes would stop counting all the zeros on that check. Expense account, item 3, 90 cents. Phone call to your company.
American Continental Life Insurance Company, good morning.
Oh, well, that's a matter of opinion. This is Johnny Dollar. Put me through to Mr. Gordon, will you?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gordon's office.
Look, honey, this is Johnny Dollar. I want to speak to Gordon. Oh, and while I'm telling him what I've got to tell him, maybe you'd better sit in his lap with some smelling salts.
I'm not that type of a secretary. And besides, he doesn't have a lap.
Hello, Dollar. How are you making out?
I owed about $100,000.
What's that?
Yeah, somebody turned Mr. Perry into a firecracker. He's dead.
Oh, that's bad news. It's a big policy, you know.
Yeah. Look, what I want to know is, shall I stay on the case?
Oh, certainly, Dollar. Certainly, by all means. By the way, is there a chance of proving suicide? There's a non-payment clause.
To make this one a suicide, there'd have to be a Santa Claus. Nobody could hate himself enough to do it this way.
Well, what are the fraud possibilities?
Only fair. There's an estranged wife. She's the beneficiary, but she wouldn't have been in a couple of weeks. Divorce coming up. I'll start with her.
All right, Dollar. Good luck. But watch those expenses.
Why, Gordon, I'm surprised. I'd think an insurance man would be the first to want to see a fellow live a little. Expense account, item 3. Cab fare, $2.80. Tip to driver, $1. Christine Perry's apartment was on Sutton Place, overlooking the river. And from what the doorman told me, all of the proprieties. I took the elevator up to the 24th floor, and there I discovered that our garden-fresh widow was living high in more ways than one. Everything about the place was French. The maid that led me into the living room, the decor, and the perfume, which reminded you that breathing can be fun. I looked up from enjoying my nose to see Mrs. Perry looking down hers.
Mr. Dollar,
Oh, Mrs. Perry.
I believe we can dispense with any getting acquainted. You're an insurance investigator, interested in the death of my husband. So naturally, you're here because you've jumped to the conclusion that I killed him.
Oh? You're the one that's jumping to conclusions, lady.
Then what do you want? The policy's in order. The premiums are fully paid.
I'm not quite sure. I know that you've got a great motive. So far, the only motive I've found.
You haven't had much time to look, have you?
Check. This is my first stop. Maybe you can help me. Do you know anyone who would be happier with your husband out of the way?
I know very little about my husband's friends, or for that matter, his activities for the past 6 months. That's when I left him.
Uh-huh. Well, that's not much help for either of us. Well, without someone else to suspect, I may just have to concentrate on you.
Mr. Dollar, I picked the men I want to concentrate on me.
Well, I hope you're as long on alibis as you are short on your temper. Where were you last night?
With a friend, Al Donovan. For a while, the same place my husband was. And I've witnesses to prove who was with him. Anybody at the Club Caprice can tell you.
Well, save me a trip. I can't afford the prices they get there.
Certainly, pleasure. My husband was with his beautiful little secretary, Susan Gates.
Well, I wouldn't be more surprised if your late husband walked through the door and said that...
All right, mister, that's enough.
Al!
Yeah.
How much did you
I'm
give?
a big guy, baby, 6'4", and I've got big ears to match.
Al, please.
Would this be Mr. Donovan, your companion of last evening?
I'm getting you out of here, Christine.
Al, you don't know what you're saying.
You lie to me. How can I help you if you lie to me? You call me stupid. The way you're playing this, you'll alibi yourself right into a cell. I'm getting you out of here.
What are you doing to me, Al? You're crazy.
Come on.
She's right. You are stupid, Donovan. She was doing just fine till you dropped in.
Mister, you've been asking a lot of questions. Now I'll give you one answer.
Al, you...
All right, Christine. So much for the wise guy. Now about you and your alibi. You wasn't with me at the Club Caprice last night, and if it's so easy to prove your husband was there with his secretary, who were you there with? You told me you were going with your husband, talking divorce, remember?
When Al measured me for that swing, I measured my chances with him. To me, he looked like one of the corporate assets of Murder Incorporated. So I rolled with a punch, hit the floor, and stayed there, with my eyes closed and my ears open. What I heard was Christine's alibi flying out the window, Mr. Donovan giving her a few loving cuffs, and finally the pair of them flying out the door. I allowed myself the luxury of a 20-second massage on the new lump on my jaw, and then I got up and started out after them. This case was becoming interesting.
In just a moment, we'll return to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. But first, this important message. $60 million is what the Red Cross needs to carry on its great work in 1949. If this seems like a lot, just try to review briefly the various activities of the Red Cross. It can't be done briefly. Red Cross services extend into every area of our lives, bringing care, comfort, and recreation to the men of the armed forces, bringing first aid training, nutritional programs, nursing services, blood banks to our own communities. And all the time, as these activities go on uninterrupted, the Red Cross is holding itself ready to spring into instant action in case of disaster. Fire, flood, explosion, any sort of catastrophe finds the Red Cross on the scene with food, clothing, and medical care. 60 million isn't so much in the light of such activity. We can make it with each of us contributing. We're giving to our own safety, security, and peace of mind, and to our neighbors, too. So let's give generously to our own Red Cross. And now back to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
I hit the street just in time to see Donovan pushing Christine Perry into a cream-colored convertible. When they got rolling, I piled into a cab and followed them, and the chase was on. At 57th and Broadway, things got complicated. My cab was 3 cars behind theirs when a red light flashed them to a stop. Then the door of their convertible flew open. Christine jumped out, dashed across the street, and down into the subway. Since Donovan didn't follow her, I followed him. When he finally pulled to a stop, he took 2 chances. He parked in a no-parking zone and walked straight into the building beside it, a police station.
This is Mr. Dollar, Lieutenant. He's been waiting for you for some time.
Huh? Well, you can wait outside, Sergeant.
Okay, sir.
My name is Johnny Dollar, Lieutenant. Here are my credentials.
Insurance, huh?
Yeah, the Perry murder in particular.
Well, you've come to the right place, Dollar. A man named Donovan just walked in here and made a full confession.
He what?
That's right. My clerk's just typing it up. In the meantime, the gentleman is down in the tank having a bite of lunch on the city.
He confessed. Does his story add up?
As far as I know. I haven't heard too much about the case myself. It's not in my precinct.
What did he use for a motive?
Jealousy. Says he's in love. Wanted to marry Perry's wife.
Did he say how he managed it?
Yeah. He stole a key to the office from the wife's apartment, entered the building last night, and wired a bomb to the buzzer system.
Uh-huh. Well, guys do a lot of strange things in the name of love.
Yeah, looks like Donovan did.
Yeah. He either killed a man, or he's trying to cover up for someone who did. Now, listen, don't execute him for a couple of days. Huh, Lieutenant? I spent the rest of the afternoon downtown in the offices of Perry and Van Bruten, importers. The partners' correspondents told me two things. They had been extremely friendly, and Van Bruten was extremely bald. Perry had been sending him toupees from a famous Hollywood makeup firm. At 4:30, I opened the drawer marked Employment Files. They rocked me with two minor explosions of their own. The folder marked Donovan Albert J. told me that he'd been employed as Perry's bodyguard over a period of years and that he was canned the day before the murder. Before I received blast number 2 from the folder of Perry's secretary, Susan Gates, the office door opened behind me.
Well, Mr. Dollar, you're supplied with a search warrant, I hope?
Just the one I was born with, Mrs. Perry. The kind they say kills cats. You know, curiosity.
What are you looking for?
I found it. How about you? What are you doing here?
Oh, I'm tired of dueling with you. I'm here because I want to... Well, I've got to talk to someone. I called your hotel. You went there. I tried to locate Susan, but I couldn't, so... I thought maybe you'd be down here.
What's the basis of our sudden friendship?
You should know. Al Donovan's confession.
The newspapers have it already?
Yes, but there's not a word of truth in it. He didn't kill my husband.
How do you know that?
Because... What? Why, it's impossible, that's all.
Yeah, it was a little hard for me to swallow, too, when the police told me about it. But since then, it's become a little more digestible.
What do you mean?
I just learned that he was your husband's bodyguard. He was fired yesterday. That same day, your husband calls his insurance company screaming for another bodyguard. Now, how would that add up for you? A beef, maybe?
Al Donovan's a fool. Never thinks. He just rushes in and says or does whatever's on his mind. He told my husband if he didn't divorce me that... Well, he threatened him.
You know, you came in here saying that Donovan's confession was no good. And you spend your time making it sound better and better. What do you want, anyway?
I can't help it. I've got to tell you the truth. I know it doesn't sound like I'm trying to help Al, but what can I do?
You really want me to answer that? Here. If you want to help Al, phone the police. Tell them Donovan made that phony confession to cover up for you. It's simple.
Not as simple as that.
You don't need the gun, Christine.
Hang up the phone.
Sure.
I hope you don't mind my aversion to being held for murder myself.
Well, that's a common aversion. I'm in no hurry to see you behind bars. But don't forget, when the cops want to pick you up, they'll do it. Now, don't spoil the rest of the afternoon. Take that gun someplace else. I've got things to do.
The first, I imagine, will be the call that I wouldn't make.
Not necessarily. If it'll make you feel any better, we'll just put this phone out of order. Satisfied?
Of course not. But don't get me wrong, Mr. Dollar. I wish you nothing but success in your investigation.
I puzzled over that exit line for a few seconds after she'd gone, and then I went back to the company's employment file, namely the application for employment as secretary of Susan Gates. It informed me that during the war she had worked in a munitions plant. Her specialty? Wiring bomb fuses. When Miss Susan Gates reached home at 8:30 that evening, she found a visitor, me.
you get in here?
Professional secret.
Oh, you scared me. What do you want? Why did you come here?
I wanted to bring you the good news. I heard on the radio that Al Donovan confessed to Perry's murder.
Al! I can't believe it.
Why not? Who do you like for the spot?
Why, Christine. Al is covering up for her.
I'd like to agree with you. If it turns out that Christine wound up her husband's life with a bang, the company that hired me saves $100,000. But I don't know. She claims she has all kinds of alibis. One of them is you.
Me?
Yeah. Did you see her at the Club Caprice last night?
Why, yes.
I know who you were with. Your boss.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I'm not preaching a sermon. I want to know who she was with.
I don't know. A man I'd never seen before. Mr. Perry knew him, but he wouldn't tell me who he was.
Why not?
I don't know. He said I might get the wrong idea.
About what?
I don't know. We didn't sit there and talk about it all night. Why should we sit here and talk about it all night?
All right, all right. When a census taker shows up and asks a lot of questions, people answer them. When an investigator tries to do his job, they make the proverbial clam look like a blabbermouth.
Look, Mr. Della, believe me, this has been a greater shock to me than to anyone else.
Excepting, of course, your late employer, Mr. Perry. How long did you work for him?
4 years.
Now, where'd you work before then?
Why, Oh.
Let me help you. Bombs, wiring fuses. Remember?
All right, I remember.
Good. Then maybe you'll remember a little bit more. Let's go back to last night. The guy with Christine Perry. Who was he?
I tell you, I don't know.
Was it Van Bruten?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I mean...
I'll get that.
No, I'll go.
You make sure you just don't keep going. Susan! When Susan snapped the spring lock to open the door, the gun outside opened up. The first slug caught her in the left shoulder, spinning her out of the way of the rest of them. It was getting monotonous. Every time a buzzer went off, things started booming. Susan was sprawled out on the floor in front of the door, and to open it, I had to move her. By the time I did, the hallway outside was empty. Okay, come on, take it easy. It won't start hurting for a couple of minutes. We'll have a doctor here by then. He'll give you something. Now, just try and keep calm. Here, I'll throw my coat over you. I'll try not to move.
Oh. Trying to ruin this rug.
Never mind the rug. What we want to worry about is who tried to ruin you.
What'll they do to me?
What will who do to you?
They'll arrest me.
No, they don't arrest people for getting shot. You have any idea who it was?
That man in the office this morning. The one who picked up the check.
Van Bruten?
No, he wasn't Van Bruten.
He was a phony.
Yes.
And you still gave him that check?
Yes.
Well, I won't ask you why. But apparently you gave him the money and then tried to blackmail him. Is that right?
They'll arrest me.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Who is this guy? Where can I find him?
Oh,
Come on, now, don't pass out on me now. His name, quick.
Van Sant.
Where's he live?
Nelson Hotel.
Under his own name?
Oh, I don't.
I don't blame you. I could use a few moments of unconsciousness myself. The Nelson Hotel didn't have a Dutch name on the register, so I got a hold of the housekeeper and found out how many rooms her staff hadn't been able to make up all day because of do not disturb signs on their doors. I went a-calling at these particular rooms. On the 9th floor, I awakened one old maid. On the 7th, I startled a bunch of poker players who thought they were being raided. On the 5th, I blushed my way out of the bridal suite. And on the 4th, I struck the door of 427 and the jackpot.
Who's there? Don't you see the sign? I do not wish to be disturbed.
Oh, sorry, I must have the wrong room. I started up the hall after the fire axe, but when I got to it, I changed my mind. One of the few things I'd learned about this guy Van Sant was that he loved to murder people through doors, so I decided against trying to chop his down. Then I remembered the way those people came pouring out of those offices earlier in the day when they heard that fire alarm. So I picked up the little red hammer next to the big red fire axe, broke the little glass window, pulled the little brass hook, and set off a big brassy noise. Then I rushed back to 427. Fire! Fire!
Where's the fire?
Right here in my eyes, sweetheart.
Why you come here? You wish you hadn't.
Never mind the dresser. You're through shooting guns for the day. What do you think, Van Sant? You want to try some more?
You cannot make me stay here. The fire. We will all die.
You look good barbecued, but I'll make a deal with you. You talk. And if I like what I hear, I'll show you how to get out of here alive.
How do I know this?
Well, you don't think I'm going to stay here and fry, do you? And if you don't start flapping that tongue in a hurry, I'll probably just tie you to a chair and run. First, where's Van Bruten?
You will find him in the bedroom.
He better be alive. He's out cold. What's the matter with him?
He will be all right. He's on the sedatives.
Where did this identity switch start? You better hurry up. I smell smoke.
I knew Van Bruten in Amsterdam. I knew about the sale of his interest. And I knew that the girl in the office here had never seen Van Bruten. Well, let's go now.
Now, don't get up. I can feel it getting warm in here.
The firefighters. We will be saved.
Now, don't be too sure. They always start at the top floor and work their way down. Come on, I can hear those flames crackling.
You know the rest. Last night, when the transaction was all finished with Mary, I gave to Van Bruten some sedative and his cocoa.
You set up that bomb so Perry'd get it before you showed up to pick up the check.
Yeah, I told you that. Then it happened that girl didn't know I was an imposter. I don't know how.
Well, let me tell you. She's been sending old Van Bruten in there toupees for the last 4 years. Gray ones, my red-headed friend.
Oh, yeah. Let us get out of here, no?
Yeah, out. Oh! Expense account item 4, $1.40. Night letter informing you that American Continental would have to meet payment of claim to Mrs. Christine Perry, innocent widow of the insured. The only thing she was guilty of was trying to stay on the right side of a hot-tempered boyfriend. She lied about who she was with at the Club Caprice, not to fix herself an alibi, but to keep Al Donovan from learning that she'd been out with another guy. That guy being the real Mr. Van Bruten, who had only taken her out to try to talk her into reconciling with his friend, her husband. Item 5, $60, silver chafing dish. Wedding present for Christine and her new husband, Al Donovan. Well, that was the least she could do for the guy who had confessed to a murder he thought she had committed. Item 6, $8, flowers for Susan Gates, prison hospital. Item 7, fine for turning false alarm, $1,000 and no cents. And that's what I think I'm beginning to get for getting into this racket. No sense. Expense account total, $1,263. Yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
In just a moment, we'll tell you about next week's Johnny Dollar Adventure. But first, this reminder. Just a little earlier tonight on CBS, Jack Benny turned dramatic actor on the Ford Theater. But this Sunday, he'll be back again on his own show with a special treat for the Jack Benny fans. After the last broadcast on which the Ronald Colmans appeared, thousands of letters came in from fans asking that Jack invite Ronnie and Benita back again soon. The Waukegan Wit did, and Ronnie and Benita, by popular demand, returned to the Jack Benny program this Sunday in what should result in one of the most hilarious broadcasts of the year. So be sure to listen to Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Colman on the Jack Benny Show, which is heard on all CBS stations this Sunday. Listen in again next week when CBS brings you Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, with Charles Russell as Johnny. Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar is written by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd, with music by Mark Warno, and is produced and directed by Richard Sanville for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
All right, so that's the second episode, the Robert Perry case. So you probably have gathered by now that one of the shticks that truly defined Johnny Dollar as the character was his every time they would change a scene in the show, he would start doing or list the next expense on his expense account. So that was his shtick, was he'd start every episode and end every episode by writing a letter to the insurance company he was working for, and doing private investigation on murders and such, by doing this entire expense account thing, and he'd list every expense as he was going through the episode. And part of that also then became, when would get extra money for whatever thing that he was adding to the expense account, he would then turn that into tips to waitresses and bellhops and anybody in the service industry. He would give them a silver dollar for a tip. So he was always very exacting with what he added to the expense account, and made sure that he got every single penny, even if it was something, like, one time he lists aspirin 10 cents. Why? Because I needed it, Just great stuff there. All right, so we're going to take a short commercial break and then come back for the last episode, A Case of the $100,000 Legs. Stay tuned.
Time now for yours truly, Johnny Dollar. The next half hour has its baggage packed to take a trip with America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, Johnny Dollar. At insurance investigation, he's just an expert. At making out his expense account, he's an absolute genius.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To Home Office, Highworthy Insurance Underwriters Association, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention, General Manager Harvey Anthony. Dear Mr. Anthony, here is your problem. The following is an accounting of my expenditures in the case of the $100,000 legs, or who put your company out on the limbs. Expense account, item 1, $60. $20 across the board on a losing horse I was rushed into betting on when you had me paged on the public address system at the racetrack.
This is Harvey Anthony, Dollar. Thanks for calling back so soon.
Now, when they paged me, they said it was an emergency. It better be.
Why? What's the matter, Dollar?
This is my day off. And if I know you, this call is going to make it an off day.
If I know you, my friend, you won't mind this assignment. I want you to go out to Hollywood. Act as a bodyguard for a big movie star, Marilyn Major.
Oh, not a bad body to guard. What's the deal?
We've issued one of those publicity policies. Insured her legs for $100,000. Policy will only be in effect for 48 hours. We want you to stick with her. Just see that she doesn't get mixed up in any hockey games.
I get it.
She's been notified, so she expects you.
Now, when do the 48 hours start?
Tomorrow noon. Can you make it?
Yeah, with the help of American Airlines.
Got enough cash with you to buy your tickets?
About that, I'll know right after the next race. I'll call you from Hollywood. Expense account, item 2, $10. Borrowed from a friend. Taxi fare from the racetrack to town, where I cash check to pay, item 3, $186.13. Plane fare, Hartford to Hollywood. Item 4, $3.50. Cab fare, Los Angeles Municipal Airport to the home of the insured, Miss Marilyn Major, at the Horizon View Apartments on the Sunset Strip. Tip to driver, $1. Miss Major's apartment had the best view of the horizon, it being the penthouse. But her outlook was anything but rosy. I found the apartment door open. First I looked in, then I went in. I want to place a person-to-person call, please, to Mr. Harvey Anthony at Hartford, Connecticut. Volunteer 3-6000. My name is Dollar, as in blood money. While I was waiting to get Mr. Anthony, I wondered who had got Miss Major. In the movies, I'd always thought she looked right at home anywhere. And now, right there in front of me, she was passing her toughest test. Lying there, nice and relaxed, she looked right at home in the role of the beautiful gal who had just been murdered. Her face was calm. Her legs were neatly placed in the best of cheesecake tradition. The only thing not quite as it should have been was a very real bullet hole, which she was wearing where an earring should have been. But the next cameras that would be taking her picture would be police cameras. B pictures. B for bloody.
Mr. Dollar?
Oh, yeah?
Here's your party. Go ahead.
Oh.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Dollar?
Yeah, this is Dollar, all right. Anthony, first I want to tell you, those legs you insured are still in beautiful shape.
Good, fine.
I only hope you didn't also insure Miss Major's life. She's dead.
What? Marilyn Major dead?
That's right.
Oh, we certainly do insure her life. We only issued that publicity policy on her legs as a courtesy. Dollar, get to work on it right away.
I'll get to work on it, but don't waste too much hope. To me, it looks like your only out is if the policy does not pay off on murder.
Murder? Good heavens. Well, there may be something about the case that'll save us from paying double indemnity for death by violence.
Oh, this is death by violence, brother, any way you look at it. Okay, Anthony, I'll get to work on it right after I call the cops and make a report.
Do your best. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye. Well,
Hang up that telephone, mister.
the dame standing in the kitchen doorway had .32 caliber steel in her hand to back up the brass in her voice. She was a youngster, but obviously an old-timer at a lot of things. Her hair was the same color as the murdered woman's, smoke blonde, and her dress was tobacco brown, and round and firm and fully packed.
I said, put down that phone.
Yeah, sure, okay. Now, you do me a favor, will you? If you feel you want your finger near that trigger, how about moving it up to the front end of the trigger guard, huh?
Mister, I only heard part of what you said, but you're not calling no police.
What makes you think so?
That dame in there's done me enough harm. I came here to kill her, but somebody beat me to it, and I'm not taking the rap.
Okay, so beat it. Who cares? Then I'll call the police. Somebody's going to eventually.
Before I go, I'm finding a few things and taking them with me. Now, come on, get up on your feet, mister. You're coming with me in the bedroom.
Okay, don't get excited.
Okay, mister. Over against that wall with your face in close and your hands straight up. Come on, move.
All right. You learn this at the movies or by watching your friends work?
Don't be a wise guy. I'm not as dumb as I look. Now, hold still.
Look, sister, by this time I shouldn't still like you well enough to warn you, but what you're doing right now will get you in plenty of trouble, even if you didn't commit this murder.
I'll take that chance.
If you don't get picked up for larceny, they'll still get you for tampering with evidence. As far as the police are concerned, at the scene of a murder, nothing gets touched. They like it that way.
What I'm taking won't even be missed. There are plenty more here just like him. That's all she's gotten here. Love letters from men.
Who are you covering up for? Your boyfriend?
It's none of your business, mister, but it's my husband I'm covering up for.
Well, then you're just plain nuts. If he knew her, they'll find that out. And then if they want him, they'll find him.
Yeah, and they'll find him dead.
Huh?
My husband committed suicide over that no good dame this morning.
Oh.
No, I've had enough out of you. Back up. 2 steps.
Okay.
Now get over there and into that closet. Come on.
Too bad.
What's the matter?
I always feel sorry for a sucker. I felt around in the dark. It was a small closet. That meant not much air. That meant doing something about it. I took my fingernail file, stood it on edge, and slipped it under the door, pressing down the nap of the rug. I did the same with my fountain pen. That would at least allow a small supply of air to sneak into my stuffy little cell. And then I glued my ear to the thin wooden panel that separated me from the bedroom. It wasn't long before my captor apparently completed her search. I heard her pass the closet door and head for the front room. I didn't hear her dial the phone, but it didn't take me long to realize that's what she was doing and who she was calling.
Give me the police. This is an emergency. Hello? Hello, police? I want to report a murder. All right. Hello? There's been a murder. The movie star Marilyn Major in the penthouse. The Horizon View apartment on the Sunset Strip. Never mind who I am. I've caught the murderer. You'll find him locked up in the closet.
From the moment she hung up, I could only guess what was happening. I heard a man's footsteps rush in and then his voice.
Blackmail me, will you cheap little dog? That's what I'm paying you for these letters. Now I'm taking them with me.
I didn't think I had the time to spend picking the lock on the closet door, so I started kicking. The girl who had just tried to turn me into the cops was lying on her face in front of the telephone stand, and a covey of bullets had turned the brown silk on her back into wet red lace. She'd been shot in the back. And if she'd succeeded in finding her letters, her killer had taken them with him. I made a quick search myself and took a look through the remaining sets of letters. One from a guy who signed himself Baron, and the other one from a guy whose autograph read, "With all my love, Lawrence." My instincts were trying to pull me out of that apartment, but one look down the street threw them into reverse. Black and white prowl cars were arriving, and it was less than another minute when their passengers started pouring out of the elevator and through the front door.
All right, watch out. I'll take it.
All right, come around.
It's in the bedroom closet, boys. Make sure you don't stand in front of that door.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Never mind the closet, Lieutenant. It's empty. I kicked my way out.
All right, let's see your hands. Get them up.
I swear I'm going to buy some stock in a gun company. Everybody's got them.
Miller, get around behind him. Check him for weapons.
Yes, sir. He's clean, Lieutenant.
Okay. Who are you?
Johnny Dollar. And if you lend me back my right hand, I'll give you my ID. It's in my wallet.
Keep him up. Miller, get his wallet.
Yes, sir. Here it is.
Insurance, Dick, huh?
Please, I'm a freelance special insurance investigator. It sounds better. Keeps my price up.
Hartford, huh? Well, what's your story?
Well, first, I'd like to go on record as saying I didn't commit either one of the murders.
Either one? What are you talking about?
Well, this one here is the girl who phoned in the report that brought you here. The one she was talking about, Marilyn Major, is lying just as dead on the floor in the bedroom.
Miller, get in there and take a look.
Yes, sir.
While he's looking, you keep on talking.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. I was sent out here by Highworthy Insurance. They just issued a policy on the legs of that dame in the other room. $100,000. Publicity stunt. I was supposed to protect their interests.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what do you think? I was supposed to see that she didn't attempt any Hindu fire dances or try walking any tightropes during the next 48 hours.
Well, your worries are over in that department, at least. What else?
When I got here, the door was open. I walked in and found her, dead.
Any way to prove that? Any witnesses?
Just one. She's lying there behind her.
Uh-huh. Over the phone, she accused you of the murder. That's the wrong kind of a witness.
No, Lieutenant. The wrong kind of dame. She knew I didn't do it. She was somewhere in this apartment when I arrived.
Then why did you say it?
I can hardly ask her. Listen, Lieutenant. She did tell me that she came here to get some letters. Her husband had written them to the Major dame. She said she was trying to protect him.
From what?
Who knows? Maybe she just wanted him to rest in peace. The guy committed suicide this morning.
We can't check your story with him, can we? You've got a lot of dead friends. How did this one here get that way?
I'm not sure. While I was in the closet, I heard her call you. And then a man came in and yelled something about blackmail at her and shot her.
And naturally, he had disappeared by the time you kicked your way out of the closet.
That's right.
This story of yours may win some kind of a prize, Dollar, but not for me. I'm not a judge.
That's one thing in my favor.
Hey, Lieutenant, I got something. The dame is dead, all right. And look what I found in that closet. A fingernail file, a fountain pen with a name on it, Johnny Dollar, and a .32 caliber revolver jammed in a shoe.
Well, Dollar, that combination puts you in a kind of jam, too.
Look, Lieutenant, I think I can make you see things my way if you let me go through my story once more. I was sent out here by Highworthy Insurance Underwriters. Expense account, item 4, $3. Candy, gum, cigarettes, and magazines to make cell number 36, Los Angeles City Jail, less like a no place and more like a home. There's something about a jail door closing on you that sounds very final.
In just a moment, we'll return to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. But first, we want you to know that the biggest jackpot in the history of radio, $50,000,
goes in the works tomorrow night when CBS Great Saturday Night Quiz Show Sing It Again comes to you again over most of these same stations. $50,000, $25,000 in marvelous prizes, plus $25,000 in cold, hard cash. And that's only the beginning, because the longer the phantom voice questions elude the listeners, the higher the rewards go. Be sure you're around tomorrow night when Sing It Again sets telephones ringing across the nation, and $50,000 goes riding on each call. And now, back to yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
When I accepted this Hollywood assignment, I visualized spending much of my time gazing upon bars, but not the kind offered by cell number 36. The guy who said stone walls do not a prison make had never been a guest in the Los Angeles City Jail. He had a better chance of getting out of Bartlett's quotations than I had of getting out of there. But, as we keep saying in the insurance racket, never say die. Well, Lieutenant Roach, what are you in for?
I've heard tell the boys around headquarters have a very funny joke about roaches in jails. But that's not why I'm here.
Sit down. Make yourself uncomfortable.
Thanks.
I can't offer you a mint julep. The closest I can come is a spearmint lifesaver.
Oh, thanks. This kind of zero is a pleasure after facing the kind we're up against.
Huh?
So for $1, all we've got to go on is you and a mess of evidence we haven't as yet been able to trace down to its rightful owners. Oh, incidentally, about that gun we thought might be yours.
Oh, don't tell me you're going to give it to me as a birthday present.
It was the weapon used to kill Marilyn Major, all right. The paraffin test we took on your hands let you out. You haven't been firing any guns lately.
Does that mean you've come here to escort me to the front door?
No, not so fast. We do want to know what your fingerprints were doing all over those 2 bundles of love letters we found.
I'm going to have to learn to pick things up with my knuckles. Lieutenant, I just had a natural curiosity as to who killed the cat. The only difference between us, Roach, is that your curiosity is official. How far did you get?
Not far enough. Didn't take much figuring to know that Miss Major has been playing a high-class badger game. All the perfume in the joint couldn't cover up the smell of blackmail. On top of that, we found the 2 batches of letters that you'd been messing around with. One signed Barron, the other signed Lawrence. Those, the fire department should be handling.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and remember, there's probably a 3rd set floating around.
Why do you say that?
Well, I'm not an eyewitness to this, only an ear witness. But from what I could hear inside that closet, the dame who came there looking for her husband's letters found them, and she called you to turn me in.
Mm-hmm.
On her way out of the apartment, some guy came in, mistook her for Marilyn Major, and shot her in the back. When I kicked my way out of the closet, those letters of hers were gone. So, figures the murderer grabbed the letters out of her hand, thinking there was some he'd written.
Uh-huh. Then in your file, the killer was either that Barron fellow or the other one, Lawrence.
Lieutenant, in my file, they're both murderers. It's just a question of who killed whom. The guy who killed Marilyn Major certainly wouldn't have come back to kill her again, would he?
In this town, you never know.
Look, Lieutenant, I got a 2-way stake in this thing. One, to get my name cleared. The other, to get my job done. And I'm in a hurry. I imagine you are, too.
Well, Marilyn Major was a big name. That means we'll soon have newspapers burning under our seats. We're in a hurry, all right.
Okay, then listen. If I were either one of those murderers, and I know that the police probably had a handful of letters that could send me to the gas chamber, I'd head for the border.
Yeah?
But if I thought an outsider had them, somebody they might be able to buy off or scare off or beat off, then I'd go find that guy.
Well?
Let's bring this thing to a head in a hurry. Run a story in the papers. Tell them you released me. Tell them I escaped. Tell them anything, just so long as you tell them that you suspect that I have those letters hidden someplace.
Well, if you don't mind taking the chance of having 2 murderers gunning after you, we certainly don't.
Oh, I mind. Believe me, I'm not doing you any favors. It's just that I'll feel safer in my own hands.
Okay, Mr. Pigeon, you got yourself elected. We'll publish that story. Then we'll let you fly the coop.
Good enough. Just make sure that you give me plenty of fighter cover. Expense account, item 6, 7 cents. Purchase of newspaper, an extra edition that hit the street about a half an hour before I did. Item 7, $5. A big square meal to make up for the ones I'd missed, ignoring the little round beans while a guest of the city. Seeing the lieutenant's fiction in black print on the front page of a newspaper almost had me believing it. There was my picture, big as life. And when those birds set up a pigeon, they made sure everybody would know the location of his roost. Firmly planted high in the story was the name of the hotel into which they had registered me, and to which I was under orders to proceed immediately. As I walked down the hotel corridor to my room, I felt an icy chill and a flight of goose flesh headed south down my spine.
Come in, darling, and close that door.
I expected company, but not your kind. At first, I thought I'd gotten into the wrong room. This kid looked right at home. And she used some of the clothes from a half-packed overnight bag to make her look it.
Oh, you're Johnny Dollar.
Yeah, thanks for saving me a calling card. Who are you?
Alice Hill,
That doesn't mean anything.
otherwise known as Mrs. Lawrence Hill.
Oh, Lawrence. Oh, the last time I saw that name, it said with love, but not to you.
That's why I'm here. I want those letters.
Why aren't you carrying a gun?
It'll be here if we need it.
We?
Yes. My husband's down in the lobby. Look, if you give me those letters he wrote, I'll pack up my little bag and leave, and everybody will be very happy.
Yeah? I think I know the next line, but go ahead.
I hope you keep on being that smart. My husband was watching for you when you came in, so he knows you're up here. Naturally, he knows I'm here, and he's on his way up. We want those letters.
This isn't just a Badger game. This is the World Series. If I don't give you the letters, your husband busts in here, shoots me, and I get written off under the unwritten law. Neat, neat, neat.
It's a handy law.
You're right. It's covered a multitude of sins.
Where are the letters?
Where's your husband?
What's the matter with you? What do those letters mean to you?
Well, right now, they look like my only hold on the future, Mrs. Hill. How do I know that you and your dear Lawrence won't kill me after you get them? You want me to take your word for it?
Well, I'll have to trust Lawrence. He'll know what to do.
I already know. There's nothing else for him to do. Look, Mrs. Hill, why don't you wise up? Your husband is ready to commit one murder to remove the evident motive for another. And he's dragging you into this with him. You'll wind up an accessory before, after, and during the fact. You're running up a blind alley as fast as you can run.
And it's too late to turn around, so I'll just have to keep running.
Ah, well, here he is. Lace up your track shoes, lady. The race is on. Come in.
All right, sit still. Freeze, both of you.
It's okay, Alice. You can hold off on the dog and pony show. Save it for the witnesses when they arrive. Don't waste it on Lawrence and me.
That isn't Lawrence.
What? Oh, so this must be Barron.
You all through?
That depends on that gun in your hand.
Where are the letters?
Letters. Yeah, I'm beginning to feel like a mailman when he's late getting around in the morning. There's one thing I want to know. Where did an ugly part-time Romeo like you find all those pretty words you wrote?
Look, don't get me sore. I'll blast you, letters or no letters.
Ah, that's the tone I was trying to bring your voice up to, Mr. Barron. No letters is exactly what I've got to offer.
Lying. He admitted to me that he hasn't. He's trying to blackmail you, Barron. That's what he's doing.
Who are you?
Never mind. My husband's in the same boat you are.
I read the papers. Lawrence, huh?
That's right. He'll be here any second. Between us, we'll figure out something.
Now, stay away from it, Dollar.
I'll answer it.
Yeah, good idea. If a man answers, hang up. It'll be Lieutenant Roach.
Wait a minute. Okay, answer it, Dollar. But the first wrong word fires this gun.
Oh, you can believe me. Nothing but right words are on the tip of my tongue. Hello? Whoever was on the other end of the line decided not to talk and hung up. So I started an imaginary conversation with Lieutenant Roach of Homicide. While I was talking, I was thinking. Barron's voice was the voice I'd heard when I was locked in the closet. That made him the guy who shot the girl who turned me in. By the process of elimination, Lawrence Hill was elected murderer of Marilyn Major. During my talk, which made no sense, and my thoughts, which made plenty of sense, I was checking the length of cord on the phone. I needed Barron a little closer, so I started tossing enough dangerous words into the mouthpiece to draw him closer, threatening me with his mutters, his looks, and his gun. He moved into range, and I moved into action. I heaved the base of the telephone straight into his face. I moved in with my knee right after it. Stumbled back, letting go of the gun, which I kicked under the bed. Then I made a break front out of the dresser next to the bed, using his head to break the front. The water from the cracked-up pitcher hit him in the face, but it didn't do him any good. Hey, get out from underneath there. Get away from that gun. Come on. While I got a hold of your ankles, I got a good mind to do this thing right and heave you out the window.
Let go of me.
Come on now, stand up.
You. All right, how much do you want? We don't want any trouble. Just let me out of here. We'll pay you anything. My husband's an important man.
So am I. I've had all the pushing around I'm going to take. From now on, I'm the dealer, and your hand is to shut up.
All I want to do is get out of here.
Oh, no, you don't. I baited you. You tried to bait me. Now we'll both sit here and bait your husband. That must have been him that called this room and hung up when he heard my voice. One thing I didn't bother to tell you. Your husband couldn't have known I was up here until then, because I came in the hotel the back way and came up here the back way. Elevator and all.
What do you mean? You baited me.
Why do you think the police put my name, my address, and my picture in the newspapers? To draw autograph on us?
Oh.
Oh, is right. Now get over there in the corner while I retrieve Mr. Barron's gun from under the bed before some mouse crawls out of the woodwork and tries taking a shot at me. Go on, get going. Turn around. Okay. Now, if you don't want me shooting runs in your stocking, don't make a move while I'm under the bed. I feel like something that old maids hope for.
Lawrence!
Where is he?
On the floor. He's got a gun. Shoot him. Kill him under the bed. No, Lawrence, not him. Don't worry. He's under the bed.
Under the bed and taking no chances. Listen, Roach, you may be a lieutenant to the police department, but to me, you're just a big, fat private.
Now, calm down, darling.
I don't mind setting myself up as a pigeon, but you promised me protection. Where was it?
Temper. Now, who's who here? Let's get these stiffs sorted out, then we can talk.
There's only one stiff. The other one, the one near the door, is Lawrence. He's only wounded. I had to shoot his pins out from under him. He came crashing in and killed Barron by mistake. That's Barron over there by the bed.
Ah, another case of mistaken identity? How did he miss you?
I happened to be under the bed at the time.
Oh.
And I wasn't hiding.
No?
I was looking for a gun, and I found it, and I used it. And if I had one right now, I'm not so sure I wouldn't use it on you. You still haven't told me why you left me here alone, holding the sack all this time.
I'll tell you why. And I guess it was our fault. The men I had posted in the lobby didn't see you come into the hotel.
Well, how do you like that? Johnny Dollar. Wise guy.
Huh?
Lieutenant, I got some news for you. Just to make sure I was taking no chances, I came in the back way. Expense account, item 8, $62. Hollywood Entertainment. Seeing what there is to see at Ciro's. Item 9, $105. Seeing to it that one of the things I saw at Ciro's had a good time with me at the Mocambo. Item 10, $186.13. Plane fare, Hollywood back to Hartford. Item 11, $1. Ticket to the movies, back in Hartford, to study the last motion picture of Marilyn Major, so that in the future I'd be sure to steer clear of her kind of a woman, who is too much of a jinx for my kind of man. Expense account total, $948.76. Signed, yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
In keeping with the Easter season, you'll hear a different kind of story on CBS Gangbusters tomorrow night. The authentic story of a former gangster's fight to go straight, broadcast in cooperation with outstanding parole authorities. You'll find this Easter Eve Gangbusters drama as gripping as any program CBS has ever brought to you. Tomorrow night, you'll also find a mid-April adventure with the intriguing title, The Heat Wave, on CBS Philip Marlowe program. Gangbusters and The Adventures of Philip Marlowe are regular Saturday night features on most of these same CBS stations. in again next week when CBS brings you yours truly, Johnny Dollar, with Charles Russell as Johnny. Written by Paul Dudley and Gil Dowd, with music by Mark Warno, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Richard Sandville for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
All right. So there you have it. That's yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Going to be switching all of these shows up here, something different every week. Next week we are doing some of the old radio shows that featured Victor Borga. Not familiar with him. He is a musician / comedian, and great stuff. Yeah, I highly recommend it. So that's going to be next Tuesday night here on the ABC channel. Now, a couple of upcoming events here before we close out. We're going to go raid Funky Bunch show, because they're doing, Funky and Smartsy are doing a Lord of the Rings talk show. And this is their first episode for that, so we're going to go and raid them here in a second. But first, I wanted to mention that Saturday night, this coming Saturday night, September 24th, 8 p.m., is Sween's first stream ever. You may be familiar with Sween. She's a mod in many channels around this community, but she has never streamed before until now. So that's going to be Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm putting her channel link there in the chat, so check that out. She's going to be doing some Stardew Valley. Then Sunday night, I am going to have my next episode of Rec Tech. I'm just going to be doing some audio cable repairs. And Wednesday night next week, I'm going to be showing Fern Gully in the Conflux Discord. So if you haven't seen that in a while, or you've never seen it, stop on by. That'll be Wednesday night at 7. And then next Saturday, a week from this coming Saturday, so on October 1st, Cage is going to be doing a brand new show. It's him hosting a game show called Streamer Sync that's like the match game. And I'm going to be one of the panelists on there, along with Angle Doom, Casual Murr, Short and Sweet, Steph Babies, and Witch Whitney. So that'll be 8 p.m. on Saturday, October 1st on Cage's channel. And let me put a thingamabobber in the chat for him, just in case you're not familiar with Cage. You can check that out. All right, so that's about it here. Now we're going to go raid Funky Bunch show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out tonight, and we'll see you next time on the ABC channel. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, because I'm not going to do that shit. Ever. Ever. Kablooski. Never in a million years. Potentially. Maybe. I don't know. What the hell is going on? See ya!